Welcome to the Snap Audition podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and leave a 5-star review.
And check out the Snap Audition platform at snapaudition.com.
We're here with Don Crafton, trombonist and founder of Sight Reading Factory, sightreadingfactory.com, in Savannah, Georgia. Is that right, Don?
That's right, Savannah. Lovely, warm Savannah.
Yeah, so you're the founder, runner of Sight Reading Factory. Tell us a little bit about what is Sight Reading Factory and why did it start? What was the idea? Who started the idea?
It's basically a music composition engine. That's really what it is. It composes music on demand. And the whole reason for it is to generate sight reading, to make practicing sight reading easier. As to why it was created, well, I kind of came up with the idea. I was a band director for many years. I taught for about 13 years. In the later part of my career, I was teaching in upstate New York. I was teaching grades 8 to 12. It was actually in Newark Valley, New York, a nice little town. It was a cool band program. It was ideal. It was no marching band. I taught 2 concert bands, 2 jazz bands, and a music theory class. It was really cool. And it seemed like a lot of the students, they couldn't read music very well, okay? And they were kind of used to being taught by rote, and I was new to the district at the time, and I don't like teaching by rote. I like, to put the music in front of the students and then to be able to read it really well, like any teacher, right? Yeah, sure.
So you mean by rote, what do you, like, I typically think you go into 5th, 6th grade, and usually notation is introduced pretty soon. What do you mean? What was the context there like?
So basically, like, okay, let's play this piece, and they're like, well, how does it go? Can you sing me the rhythm? Like, what's this note? Things like that. And so I was like, this isn't going to work. So what I decided would be good for these students would be to do a lot of sight reading. So I wanted to do a lot of easy music. I wanted to back off the level and just put music in front of them they've never seen before. And I wasn't going to help them with it. And I was like, we're just going to sight read. That was my plan for tackling their lack of music literacy, to put it another way. But I quickly found out as a young band director that sight reading with a full ensemble is pretty tricky. Not tricky, it's time consuming, right? So basically you got to dig through your files. You got to find a piece that's appropriate to them. Then you pass it out to your whole band, and then you read it, and you only read it one time through because it's sight reading. You're not going to perform it. It's just an easy exercise, right? So then you recollect it, and then you refile it. All that just to read a piece one time to practice sight reading. So that was not an ideal way of doing it. So it didn't take me long to do that before I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I was kind of like, oh, it'd be great. I had this huge projector, this huge screen in the room. I was like, man, it'd be great if I could just project something up there and we can all just read it from the screen. And that was what sort of got the wheels turning. I did lots of, internet searching. Wasn't anything like that. I thought about it for several years, actually. And then finally got the guts to do something about it. And I thought of a good way to, algorithmically compose music, the bare bones of that, basically. I'm not a programmer, so I had to hire a programmer, emptied my savings, hired a programmer.
Entered your teacher savings?
Yeah, right. It wasn't much. So I quickly ran out of my savings trying to pay the programmer, and then thankfully he agreed to come on as a partner, and we split the company. So we got started back in, I think, 2011, and and it's just slowly been changing and improving over time.
You must have done some research into the technology before you got your partner in terms of like what was possible to have the computer make music.
Honestly, I didn't really think too much about that. I just figured think like a composer and then put it in code. Kind of think like a programmer, but I don't, know the programming language. And I've got another buddy that's a programmer that I've been friends with my whole life. And, and he actually recommended me to Adam. Adam is his name. That was the co-owner for many years.
Did you ever think, well, why don't we just have a catalog of music? Couldn't you just have like a sight reading catalog like on an app?
Yeah, I definitely thought about that, but that's obviously finite. At some point you're gonna get through it all, and human memory's kind of great. You're gonna say, oh, I remember this piece, and then it's not sight reading anymore.
What was the hardest challenge the first few years, technologically, and business wise?
I guess for me, like just trying to, I wouldn't say to stick with it, but I guess just trying to survive. Like at the time I had 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet, and I knew it had promise. just knew that was going to happen. I mean, it just takes time. We were we had literally one programmer, Adam. That was it. And we had like a side guy that was doing the visual stuff for us, and then I was sort of working on the algorithms and all that, and trying to coach Adam through it. I don't know if there were any really hard technical challenges. It was just a time thing, like how quickly can we get out these new features that people want? And really, the people loved it almost immediately. We hardly ever advertised, and people would talk about it, on social media.
Wow.
And that was sort of our main thing, like Facebook groups, band director groups, this and that. But yeah, it was more just like the trying to stay patient, just knowing that it's going to do well, and just trying to stay patient.
What I wanted to do is like give people a chance to look at it, talk about our working together with Snap. If you're viewing this podcast like on Spotify or on YouTube, you'll be able to see the screen here. So I logged into Sight Reading Factory on my account. As you can see, it's a really simple interface, and all I have to do is click here to start practice, and then I can just go through these lists of prompts, so bass, trombone, and these levels. So explain these levels, Don.
Yeah, so we have different stock levels, and we also have different standards, like the one up above it, the Massachusetts all-state audition standard. But yeah, so we have the Sight Reading Factory stock levels. They were the initial ones, the only ones we had. And they were just a way to, kind of say, okay, for a level 1 student, this is what we kind of think you should do, for this range and these rhythms and this leaps. And then as it gets harder and harder, as it goes up, the range increases, the rhythms increase. We just came up with some decisions. We chose a 6-level standard. It was kind of based, again, I was teaching in New York at the time, which uses the NYSSMA standard, NYSSMA. It stands for New York State School Music Association.
Okay, so then, that's good. So it gave you some starting point of, okay, at this level you should be able to do this, and and that included vocal and all the instruments in the orchestra.
Yes, all the ones we currently have. I mean, we actually have some that aren't in the NYSSMA standard, but yes, exactly right. Right
here, I'm setting up sight reading. This would just be for me as a bass trombonist, just doing practice on my own. And then time signature. So this one's cool because you can select multiple, and then it will like randomly choose one, right?
Yes, it'll.
Right,
yeah.
Key signature. Well, I guess if you did all, then it would randomly choose one. So then here, what are these choices?
Okay, yeah. So free play is basically you click that, and it's just going to generate the music instantly. We don't know what you want to do with it. Maybe you want to listen to it. Maybe you want to sight read it right away. Maybe you hate it and you want to generate another one. You're pretty much free to do whatever you want. Auto assessment is this brand new one. You can see it says beta there. This is really cool. This will actually auto assess you. This will grade you, listen to you, score you based on your performance. There's no countdown timer involved, so you can study it first and practice a little bit if you want. And then when you're ready, you hit start, and then it records you. And then after you're done, it'll analyze your performance and give you a grade. Challenge is almost like an audition mode. There's going to be a countdown timer involved. So you'll have a limited amount of time to study them. And you can set that to whatever you want. You'll have a limited amount of time to study the music, and then you're expected to perform it.
If you're doing live auditions, like in person, do people use this for doing live auditions? I mean, in-person auditions?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't. They should, because I think it's great. But I don't know how. I don't know how many times folks use it for live auditions. I think what they normally do, if they do use Sight Reading Factory for auditions, they'll print it out, which is perfectly fine. They'll just print out.
To have the same one. Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll just have it. They'll just have it on a stand, and then when the student walks in, they or when it's time, they turn it over and play it then.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's an awesome way to use for auditions. For sure.
At Snap, one of the biggest things we wanted to be able to support was being able to record an asynchronous audition. So here you're looking at our interface for setting up an audition. These are all the different things you would set up for your audition, like categories. One is date, scoring, all these different settings. But we wanted to be able to, students or anybody, orchestral auditioning people or whatever, they wanted them to be able to record inside Snap and then have a certain number of tries to record. So it's kind of mimicking the in-person experience. Like, hey, I go to audition for the LA Philharmonic in person, I'm going to have one shot, right? They're not going to give me I can't just keep recording over and over. Yeah. So we wanted to support that. So we've built this in Snap recording. If you were setting up an audition, this is what it would look like. Then you're going to set up items to record. If you want auditioning entrants, we call them entrants, to record sight reading, it's a challenge because how do you know that they're just seeing it for the first time, right?
Exactly.
If I'm first off, if I'm allowed to, if I can just keep recording and recording and recording and upload it to YouTube, you could have tried the piece 20 times. That's one challenge. Number two is, how do you do sight reading if you're doing it asynchronously? It's not possible unless a computer can create the music in real time. And so that's why we came to Don at Sight Reading Factory and said, hey, how do we take this technology, put it into this system so that every single time a entrant goes to record in our app, we can guarantee that they're seeing the music for the first time. Here, if we're setting up sight reading, this says how many minutes they have to record. We're going to say they have 3 minutes to record it, and they get 2 tries. So in this situation, maybe we want to give them 1 try, but we're going to give them an extra try because of maybe if there's a technical issue, we want to make sure they have an extra try. They can request more tries if they have a problem.
That's cool.
We try to think of everything so that nobody's stuck like, oh, I tried to record it on my phone, but I was out in the middle of nowhere and the video didn't upload. So what do I do now, right? Over here you have show this to the entrant during recording. So in a lot of situations, if they're just recording a piece of music or something they've chosen, you wouldn't have anything there, nothing. But you might have, say, if we're at orchestral audition, you have excerpts from orchestral pieces. So in this situation, maybe you upload all 15, and the system will randomly choose which excerpt or which whatever. Now, this says here, have Sight Reading Factory display unique music for every entrant. As we walk through with Don, you could set up the sight reading. Every single time you load, it's gonna write a new piece of music. If you want the system to do that for every single entrant, what you're gonna do is you would go over to Sight Reading Factory, log into your account, and then you're gonna click Start Practice, and you're gonna go through those steps like we did before and develop the parameters. Was that a good way to say it, Don?
Yeah.
You're gonna set up the sight reading for what you want. So for example, if you want bass trombone and you want the level 3, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So once you've done that, I'm gonna click here, Start. If you notice we have a little video that explains step by step how to do this, but you're gonna click this gear icon in Sight Reading Factory. And then there's this little link. It says copy the link below and paste it over into Snap Audition. And I hit test link. If you notice here, the music that would have shown up here is now showing up here. And that's exactly what's going to show up for every entrant. If you notice, I click test again, it produces a new piece of music. So that means every time anybody goes in to record, they're going to get a piece of music that's the same in terms of range, rhythm, measures, all that, but it's going to be a different piece. And so what we do in Snap is we take that piece of music, we save it so that the adjudicator can see it, and then we record the entrant, and then we put it together for the judge. This is it's exciting for me because Sight Reading Factory has refined, you guys have refined the process of generating the sight reading music to a point where, would you say, like every single time it's generated a piece of music, you can pretty much guarantee that it's going to be the same challenge level or very close? Yeah.
Yes. We've tried to be very, very careful about, the music that's generated is very comparable each time. Now, I will say that there are instances where, you can get variations, and some of those are maybe if you use shorter pieces, like sometimes 4-measure pieces, you can get some that may be easier or harder than others. But, if you typically stick to like 8 measures, and you can see you've generated 5 or so. They've all got, all of them have had 16th notes. I think they've all had like a dotted quarter eighth, things like that. So there's certain things we have like where each piece has to have this or something.
Yeah, and so here, like if I'm an entrant, I've registered, I've started my audition to a certain degree. I have questions here. I have different things I need to do on this audition. So here it says I have 2 items to record. It says I have 2 minutes to view any attachments for sight reading. So if I hit start try, so I hit start record test, so that the entrant has a ability to make sure that it's working, and then it says continue to sight read. So on the left side, it'll say it'll automatically start, or if they're ready, they can just click start record, just like in Sight Reading Factory, similar, where you have a certain amount of time to look at it, certain amount of time to record. Our system saves this for the judge, and that's it. We only save it, only the judge can see it. It can't be, but it doesn't really matter, because if they do another try, it's going to produce another piece of music. They hit stop, it'll upload their video. Once it processes, they'll be able to look at it, and then they can choose which one they want to submit.
So
Now,
if they use all 5 minutes, will it automatically just upload at the end of it, like if it times out?
yes. And we have a lot of safeguards built in to like keep them from stopping or reloading the browser and things like that. But you can imagine, like, if they're in the middle of nowhere, they lose internet connection or something, there could be things that happen. And so that's why we built in this request extra tries.
Yes. Okay.
So they could say device or browser crashed during recording or something. That will submit it to the admins, and then you can grant them extra tries. If you were worried about that, that's there for you. The whole point here is you tried to solve a problem back in 2011, which was, hey, it takes too much time to dig all the sight reading out when the technology can do it in milliseconds. And our thing was, hey, doing auditions online and sending them in is a lot more convenient. It saves time, saves resources from traveling somewhere. But you need to be able to test whether the student or the auditioner, whatever you call them, can play on the spot, right? That's an issue. And so we wanted to build this in here. Once I hit the submit button, it will see that I recorded these tries. So for example, the first item, you could say, that's not required. If it's not required, then the system will allow you to submit the audition without it. If it is, they have to record it in order to submit the audition. Pretty simple to integrate, pretty simple to use. So much easier than having people upload, I'm going to upload their video to YouTube or Dropbox or somewhere, and then over here you're going to pay over here, and then over here. So that's really what we wanted to do.
All in one place. That's excellent.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think is a good use of Sight Reading Factory in general for auditions? First off, not all auditions have sight reading, but what I found in researching the audition world and what's happening, especially in music, is once an organization goes to online, they just drop sight reading because they can't figure out how to do it right.
Right.
Now that they can do it with this system, how should they think about it? How should they set it up? Like, what should their mentality be?
Yeah, well, so first of all, I think sight reading is really hugely important, and I think it really shows you a student's or a auditionee's like music literacy, and I think that's important. I mean, there's some people that may disagree with me on that, but I really think that separates. For the most part, especially for all-state auditions, everyone's going to be able to play the scales. Everyone's going to be able to play the prepared piece. The sight reading is really what's going to set them apart.
Yes, and make it easier to judge the differences between.
Yeah, and I really think that. And then I think if you take that away, I think you're really losing something there. So so the fact that now you can confidently set up like as you're saying, an asynchronous online audition. Before you couldn't confidently give sight reading and say, I want everyone to do sight reading. There's this piece, don't read it very many times beyond, like you just couldn't do it. You couldn't trust that people were really sight reading. Now you can. Yeah. I mean, right. I think that's great. And I think another great use for Sight Reading Factory in particular, for a lot of these auditions, is the consistency in levels. That's been one of my biggest complaints, even to this day. Some of the recent, because I'll judge low brass or something for district auditions and whatnot. Yeah. And for the districts that don't use Sight Reading Factory, where a teacher will just bring in sight reading, most of the time it's way too hard. It's unreasonable for the student, or it's way too easy. Like, I think it's important, obviously, to pick a piece that is representative, is what the level should be for that user. And that's one of the awesome things about Sight Reading Factory. You can go in and tweak it. You can go in and mess with it and say, let me generate some of this. Oh yeah, this is what I'm looking for. No, I think that'll be too hard. If you don't have at your house, if you don't have the right music, books, right. You're just going to say, oh well, this is all I've got. I'm just going to copy this and bring it into the audition tomorrow. Chances are it's not going to be right for the people that are auditioning. But with Sight Reading Factory, you can go in and you can make your own custom levels. You can say, I want it to have these parameters. These
right. Yeah, you can have any kind of musical attribute for notation. You can have it.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't show in the screen share was you can have a different sight reading configuration for every category of your audition. So, bass trombone, tenor trombone. And then if you have multiple rounds, you can change the sight reading for those rounds too. So you can say, if they get to this round, then make the sight reading harder or something like that. This technology with, of course, Sight Reading Factory is there. Snap Audition, it's out right now. If you want to go play around with it, you can schedule a demo with us, and the cost is very minimal to use it. We want to make it. We care about a lot of people using this, so we're trying to make it affordable for everybody.
No, man, I appreciate you having me on. It was actually really cool. I saw like a couple months ago, I think, when you were in the beginning stages of the integration, and it's really cool to see it working now. So it's awesome. Use Snap Audition. I think it's awesome. It's really great.
Thanks, Don.